Hello all, welcome back to my channel. If you cannot tell by the fact that I'm sitting in front of my bookshelves, we are going to be doing another reading video, which I'm very excited about. I have not been able to film one of these in a while. So actually today we are going to be going over our favorite summer reads, or our favorite reads of the summer, since I haven't been doing any filming. I haven't made one of these in quite a while, so instead of like going through all the books I've read this summer, which is quite a bit, I figured I would just share a few of my favorites, and I did want to do one honorable mention, but that is what we're going to be doing today, so if you're interested, then just keep watching. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be talking about all of my favorite books that I have read this summer, and I will go ahead and preface this that this summer I was on a tear of romance novels. Typically I will flip between like romance, fantasy, and thrillers, the typical that most people do. But I have found that I wanted to save some of my like thrillers and fantasies for kind of the fall time, so I was really focusing on getting through like a bunch of easy, not necessarily summer romances, but just those light romance books. I will say that there are some cheesy little summer ones in here that we'll talk about, but that was the main goal. So if you're wondering what's going on with all of the romance, that is why. I just finished a thriller last night, which we'll talk about later, so I'm getting back into that space. I will say that Buddy, my little dog, is in here roaming, so if you hear his tippy taps, I do apologize. He's a little anxious, he's got a little bit of separation anxiety, so he's got to be in here with me. But yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into my favorite summer books that I read. Okay, I'm gonna do my best to go in order, but the first book that I read this summer, oh, actually, you know what? We're not even gonna talk about these yet. Let's talk about some books that I read that I actually don't have the physical copies of, that I read, I think, like end of May, starting in June. So those are the Daisy Hates books, and I'll pop those up here. Those are the kind of like, not spin-offs, but they go along with the Magnolia Parks books. So the Magnolia Parks books are like 1, 3, and 5 in the like little universe, and then books 2 and 4 follow the character Daisy Hates, who is the little sister of Julian Hates, who is mentioned in the Magnolia Parks series. He's a recurrent character, and it kind of dives into their side of things. And I was not sure if I was gonna really like these books because I loved the Magnolia Parks books so much, but let me just tell you, I loved their storyline. I thought it was so interesting. So Daisy's brother is like what is it? He's in the mafia. So it kind of tells her story with her being included in that, and them kind of trying to keep their separation, and then her budding relationship with Christian Himnes, I can't remember how you say it. Kind of like that back and forth, which is interesting because in the Magnolia Parks books, he's kind of mentioned in there as being a love interest. So I really enjoyed that. I liked, I'm not going to say it's not toxic love, like how it is with Magnolia and BJ, but it's a little bit more toned down. She wants to live a real world, but her brother is this like gang lord in the mafia, and she kind of helps out with that. So it's really interesting. It falls along with like the British socialite high society that the first ones do. So I really enjoyed those books. They were so good. They were so interesting. They left off on a cliffhanger, of course, so I really hope, she hasn't announced if she's making another one. Or, I mean, I guess it did live off on a cliffhanger, but like it left you wanting more, if you know what I mean. So I really hope she is going to make another one of those, especially since there were 3 Magnolia Parks. I hope there's 3 Daisy Hates, because I loved those books. I read them so quickly. Really nice. So those are books I would definitely recommend. So this is called To Love Jason Thorne by Ella Mazie, which I found at Half Price Books, and I've never seen anybody talk about this book, but I was really intrigued by the spine. It kind of caught my eye. And this is about a girl and a boy who were childhood best friends, but he ended up moving away. And right before he moved away, she kind of expressed a crush on him, and he so subtly rejected her, but you know, in your little girl heart, it just totally crushes you, you know? So she carries that with her, but she has moved on. They're much older now. He is a famous movie star, and she is a writer, and she goes and gets like a screen deal, I think is what it's called, for her book, and is in the meeting, and guess who is going to be the star of her movie? In walks the childhood crush, Jason Thorne, and he is really excited to see her. He's so surprised because they have been separate for many years, but her last memory of him is him crushing her heart and breaking her heart, so she wants nothing to do with him. And he also has that like typical movie star persona where he's a player, he kind of is for trouble, he's got a bunch of bad press, so that's also part of it. Not to give too much of it away, but his what's it called, like your press guy thinks it's a good idea for him to settle down and get married, so they kind of have like a fake marriage trope kind of going on in here. It was a really overall sweet story. It was unlike anything I have read before, which it took me a little bit to get into it, but then probably by like page 50 or 70, I was totally hooked. I loved this book. She has another one called To Hate Adam Connor, which is good. It wasn't my favorite. I didn't like it as much as I liked this one, but I liked it enough that I have more of her books on my TBR. But this was just a really good, easy read. I enjoyed it. Just a cute little love story. And then, if you've been here a while, you'll know I love Lucy Score. Her books are always my favorite. So I also saw this one. It's called The Worst Best Man. And this is one where this girl, her name's Francesca, is the maid of honor in her best friend's wedding. And then the guy, of course, is the best man. And he kind of puts on this persona of, I'm too cool. He kind of acts like a jerk. And she's like, I don't want anything to do with you. But then, like, the night of the wedding, some stuff kind of happens to her, and he's there to comfort her, and she realizes, oh, maybe he's not a bad guy after all. Then, after the wedding, they kind of, like, go their separate ways. He kind of wants to pursue her. His whole, like, shtick is that he doesn't do long-term relationships, and so she's kind of, like, just looking for a little hookup, but then it kind of turns into more. So it just kind of follows their storyline. And you get to see this other side of him that's, you know, not so, like, uppity. He's also a billionaire. I forgot to mention that. So he has his guard up because of that as well. But you can kind of see her break into his heart and his little veil and all of that. And this was just another sweet, cute little romance book that I enjoyed reading. Okay, another book I read is Tessa Bailey's Hook, Line, and Sinker. And this is actually the second book in the, I think it's, it happened last summer. It happened one summer. Yeah, it happened one summer series, so this is the little sister's story. So it says, King Crab fisherman Fox Thornton has a reputation as a sexy, carefree flirt. Everyone knows he's guaranteed a good time, in bed and out, and that's exactly how he prefers it until he meets Hannah, the little sister. She's immune to his charm and good looks, but she seems to enjoy his personality and wants to be friends. Bizarre, but he likes her too much to risk a fling, so platonic pals it is. Now Hannah's in town for work, crashing in Fox's spare bedroom. She knows he's a notorious ladies' man, but they're definitely just friends. In fact, she's nursing a hopeless crush on a colleague, and Fox is just the person to help her lackluster love life. Armed with a few tips from the resident Casanova, Hannah sets out to catch her coworker's eye, yet the more time she spends with Fox, the more she wants him instead. As the line between friendship and flirtation begins to blur, Hannah can't deny she loves everything about Fox, but she refuses to be another notch on his bedpost. Living with his best friend should have been easy, except now she's walking around in a towel and sleeping right across the hall, and Fox is fantasizing about waking up next to her for the rest of his life. And man overboard, he's fallen in love with her hook, line, and sinker. Helping her flirt with another guy is pure torture, but maybe if Fox can tackle his inner demons and show Hannah he's all in, she'll choose him instead. That was a lot. But basically, this is the little sister of the girl in the first book. So she comes into town because she's a part of like a movie set. She's kind of like an assistant or whatever, but she recommends this little small coastal town to film their next movie in. And instead of staying with her sister, she actually has to stay with their friend Fox because her husband's family's living with them or visiting, so they don't have an extra room. But she's madly in love with her like casting director, or he's the director maybe, I don't really remember what his title is. So she is thinking like this will just be a good friendship roommate situation while he helps her with, you know, the little crush she's got betting for this guy. But then throughout all of this, of course, you know, they kind of go do the back and forth with, do you love me, do you not, you know, all of that. But this was just a great summer read. It was so easy. I mean, it was an easy read. I liked that it took place on the beach. I kind of like that like fishing, I'm not gonna say trope, but like that setting. It's definitely unique that's in this one and the other one. And it's not like one of these that are very, you know how some of these are pretty similar, like these romance books are similar. This one's not like that. And overall, I just thought it was a cute story. I'm a sucker for like the guy who has to like let the girl in, you know, not like he doesn't necessarily able to talk about his feelings, but he's got some stuff that she helps him kind of overcome. I don't know why, but I really like those books, and this kind of has a little bit of that in there. So this was just cute. cute, easy read that I would definitely recommend. Okay, the next book is Reckless by Elsie Silver, and I actually would recommend this one and Powerless, which is the purple one. I'll pop a picture over here. I love her writing. She's kind of like Lucy Score, where I have been like auto buying her books for the most part. I will say I have read these books all out of order. I know that like they're kind of standalones, but the characters kind of intertwine a little bit, so it's okay if you read them out of order. So I've definitely done that one, but this is about he's another one of the bull riders, and he meets the girl in the first one's older sister, and they have a one-night stand that ends up in a love child. And she messages him to tell him that she's pregnant because he was like, it was definitely a one-night stand type of deal, and he was going back on the road as a bull rider. And then he like responded with a little text saying basically that he wasn't interested, so she raised this baby for the first like 9 months by herself. And then he comes back into town and he wants to like talk to her and stuff. She's obviously giving him the cold shoulder since he wanted nothing to do with their child, but he doesn't know why she's giving him the cold shoulder. So slowly that like comes to unravel a little bit that he's not the one that sent that text. So then he is meeting his child, and it just kind of goes into their love story. I haven't read anything about this. Usually like children like that are not my favorite trope. I don't usually like those. This one was just good. It was so sweet. I think it actually even made me tear up at one point, which is not something I do in books very often, but it was just, I don't know, I think maybe I don't know, something about it, just, you know, seeing like the big manly man, you know, become a father, and just like seeing his child for the first time, and like that is just very sweet and pure. There's definitely a lot of other stuff in the background that is happening. I don't want to spoil any of it. But yeah, it just follows their little story, which is sweet. And then also by Elsie Silver, I read Wild Love, and I've actually already pre-ordered the second one to be here in the beginning of September. Or actually, I think next week maybe. So I'm really excited about that. And this one's kind of similar in a way to the Worst Best Man with like the billionaire trope. But this stories like this, and it's also like Love in Other Words, where it's like the childhood best friend or your brother's best friend or something like that, I'm a sucker for. I love those tropes. They're my favorite. So I think that's part of why I liked this one so much. So it said, Forbes may have labeled Ford Grant the world's hottest billionaire, but all he cares about is escaping the press and opening a recording studio in gorgeous small town Rose Hill, something that comes to a screeching halt when he ends up face to face with a young girl who claims he's her biological father. Now, let me pause. I will say that this book and the last book both had children in them. That I said it's not usually my thing. If it's done right, I don't mind it. It's just not something I usually look for. Let me just say that. Now he spends his day balancing business with parenting a sullen 12-year-old who, and while desperately trying to keep his hands the hell off his best friend's sister, Rosie Belmont. After living in the city, Rosie came blasting back into town like a storm, beautiful, messy, and chaotic, and one wide-eyed, desperate plea for a job is all it takes for Ford to hire her. He vows to keep her at arm's length, tries to stick to scowls and grumpy one-liners, but with her, verbal sparring is a type of foreplay friction that soon turns to be a blistering heat. You know, it's a typical story. They were childhood friends, grew apart. He wants to settle down, not be in the like corporate world, so he goes back to their small town. She has a bad experience. She also comes back to town, and they kind of mingle. He's got some stuff, she's got some stuff they gotta kind of work through. But this is a spicy book, let me just tell you that. So if you're into spice, you will like this one. And it just goes through their story, which was just really sweet. I like small town romances as well. Those are usually also my favorite. Okay, now this is another book I have not heard anybody talk about, and it's called Starry-Eyed Love by Helena Hunting. And this one is London Spark. She just broke up with her longtime boyfriend. She's at a bar. This guy wants to buy her a drink. She's not really interested in. She's at this bar with her sisters, by the way. She's not super interested in having a drink. She just got out of the relationship. The guy's trying to flirt with her, buy her a drink, all that. They mutually part ways, you know, all of that. But then on the side, she and her sisters are running this almost like, I don't know what you would call it. Like, it's a business for their family's event hotel called the Spark House, where the three sisters run it together. Their parents have passed away, and London does like all the business side of things. So she's like doing all the emails, and then her other sister does like the social media aspect of it. Anyways, as luck would have it, the multi-million-dollar company that guy who tried to buy her drinks reaches out and asking for a meeting to discuss a potential partnership, and London is eager to prove to her sisters and herself that she can land this deal. And just when she thinks she's landed her presentation, the CEO of the company himself walks in to listen to her presentation, which just so happened to be the guy that bought her to the drink, or tried to buy her drinks a few months ago, and kind of like intimidates her, inserts himself into the meeting, and just kind of like, you know, gives her that little thing. She holds her ground, she does well, she lands the job, and then as they spend more and more time together, their working relationship blossoms into something more. It isn't until their professional entanglements are finally over that they are ready to take the next step in their relationship, because both of them wanted to keep it professional, you know, don't mix work and play and all that stuff. But between Jackson's secret past and London's struggle with her sisters, she must question where she really stands, not just with Jackson, but with the Spark House too, because she really likes the artsy piece of everything. This was another one of those books. It was just about a topic I have not, or like the plot was just something so unique. I haven't really read anything kind of similar to this in that regard. I really liked the sister element, especially since I have two sisters. I like the little small town romance kind of vibe that this puts off, but then he's also, you know, the billionaire, so he wants to like help her out in any way he can for their company. So I just thought that was really cool. I like the arts and crafts aspect of it. I would definitely recommend this book, especially because nobody talks about it. I have not read or seen another person actually mention that book, but that was another cute little romance. And then the last book I want to talk about is not like a, might get some hate for this, but I read this book because I have seen everybody talk about this book this summer, and it is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. And this is the first book by her I have read. And let me just say, I actually wasn't that big a fan of this book. I did not like all of the magic, so to say, that was in here. It just seemed like very far-fetched and very unrealistic to me. A lot of this book took like huge unrealistic leaps to me that I did not really like. I will say that there's also kind of some like mental health stuff in here that I didn't really like, that I wish maybe there was a little trigger warning on in a way, but that's okay. But let me just, I don't even want to read the back of this book because I'm sure everybody has heard about it, but it's, these two girls are travel nurses, and one of the girls reads this Reddit post about this boy who says he has the curse where every girl he dates, as soon as they break up, they find the love of their life and get married or whatever, so he has the curse. And so sure enough, this girl breaks up, meets his best friend, they get married, and he like jokingly names his dog after his best friend because his best friend kind of screwed him over in a way. And so this girl is reading this Reddit post about it, and she's like, oh, I have that too. And so she messages him, they kind of start a little friendship, so they decide on their next nursing rotation to have it in the town that the Sky lives in so they can meet, because they have decided that if they date each other, their curse will be broken and both of them will find their soulmate after they break up. So they make all these rules, they go on these dates, of course they end up falling in love. Both of them have their own family stuff going on in the background that proves to be challenging to their relationship itself. And so those two aspects of it I just didn't love. I think that those were unrealistic, and the whole like breaking the curse thing seemed kind of silly to me, but for the plot it's fine. This was just, I think I would only give this like 3 stars. I just didn't really like it. Once again, another easy cheesy romance. Most people I've talked to do really like this, and I've seen it all over the internet. People that don't even usually post book content say that they like this, so that's why I got it. But I was really disappointed. It just really fell flat for me on that. But yeah, this one was just an eh for me. But those are some of the main books that I have read this summer, the books that I really, really loved and wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm excited for fall and try to get back into the reading content. I'm excited to start reading some thrillers and mystery and fantasy again. It has been a little bit, especially since I picked up a thriller. So excited to start reading those again, and hopefully I can make these videos more frequent for you guys. If you have any recommendations on books for me to read, or if you think you have any input on how I could do these videos better, leave that below as well. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!